our second awardee, Mr. Scott Miller from Dallas, Texas. Scott graduated from CCU in 1991. He came to CCU in 1987, right when I came to CCU. That was when he graduated in 1999, was 3 years before we even had a school of business. It was just a department of business at the time. And in 6 short days from now, on May 1st, Scott Miller will take over as president and CEO of Interstate Batteries in Dallas, Texas, leading over 1,400 employees all across the nation. Now, before you get any ideas about Scott's meteoric rise at Interstate, please understand that Scott began working at Interstate 30 years ago. Yep, he started when he was 14 years old. His dad, Norm Miller, was running the company back in those days, and like any good old-fashioned dad, Norm made sure that Scott started at the bottom and earned every promotion along the way. In the late 1980s, Scott took a break from loading docks of Interstate Batteries and attended college at Colorado Christian University, graduating in 1991. Now, Scott was in my Intro to Computers class back in the day. And if you look at the screen, you'll see some of the programs we worked with back then. Back then, we were teaching WordPerfect as the word processor, DBase 4 as the database, Lotus 123 as the spreadsheet, and I got to teach the disk operating system, otherwise known as DOS. Some of you remember DOS, yeah? C:\\/, you're right, and so forth. Now, this is where Scott really struggled. I don't know whether it was because he couldn't get it or he couldn't keep his eyes off the young girl next to him. That young lady would later become his wife, Donna, the prettiest girl at CCU. Donna, thank you for helping me get Scott through that class and teach him a thing or two about the, technology. Now, you'll notice here a couple of things. In his outdoor pursuits and so forth, Scott plays golf. He's a fisherman. That's a good thing. And Scott also, Interstate Batteries, has a NASCAR team. When I first got married many years ago, my wife asked me to give up some things like skydiving, hang gliding, and motorcycles, but she said nothing about NASCAR. Scott, if that thing with Kyle Busch doesn't work out, right here, buddy, okay? You give me a call. We're there. The Dallas Business Journal did an article on Scott. One of the questions they asked was, you've worked at Interstate Batteries for 22 years, including when your father was running the company. What was that like? And Scott's response is telling. He got me in the door and then told the guys at the Dallas Distribution Center to wear me out and show me what the battery business was all about. So again, there would be no misunderstandings. Again, an old-fashioned dad redistributing his work ethic to his son. Another question in the Dallas Business Journal article. Interstate Batteries is a Christian company in an age when many companies avoid that. Why is that important? Scott responded, we're founded on those kinds of principles, biblical principles that I think we're all familiar with, like the golden rule. Treat others like you'd want to be treated. We don't shy away from it. We appreciate companies like Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out Burger, and other folks that are like-minded in their value system. I think another thing we all have in common is that we all have really fantastic legacies of success over time. So we think that it ultimately makes for a really good business too, because we think that's what people ultimately want. Hey, just treat me like you want to be treated. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2013 Values-Aligned Alumnus of the Year, Mr. Scott Miller.
Gee whiz, what an intro. You told my whole life there. There's nothing left. I'm a pretty transparent guy, so. Well, I had a couple things that I wanted to communicate while I had an opportunity, so if that's okay, I'd love to do that. And now that I'm up here, you really can't stop me. Can you?
Oh, yes, I can.
Well, I guess we could get physical, but I know you don't want to go there, neither do I. Okay, now I'm trying to find my notes that I had here.
Donna, he needs your help.
Donna, where are the notes on your iPad? This is unbelievable. I've been doing this all day, getting ready for this. All right, we're switching out. There she is, helping me out again.
Was I lying?
That was not planned. All right, so since I've got an audience, I've got a few things that I'd like to communicate to you all. I'll be brief, and I timed this out last night in my room, and it's 1 hour and 6 minutes. So if that's okay, is that okay? No, not okay. Just kidding. No speeches. Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor for me to accept the Values Aligned Alumnus Award on behalf of the stakeholders at Interstate Battery. So this is not about me. This is about our stakeholders at Interstate. It's a blessing. I'm just blessed to be in a position at Interstate where I can help people and the business as a whole to do three things that are really critical to us, and that's glorify God, serve other people, and enrich lives. That's it for us. The Battery. The battery business for us is really just our means to those ends. That's how we do it, to make those three things happen. And we happen to be in the battery business. We could be in the airline business. We could be selling shoes. It happens to be batteries for us. I'm also very grateful to the people at CCU who were foundational in the development of my business mind and my faith and the integration of my faith into all areas of my life. So I'm really grateful to the institution that is CCU and to the people that were there, like Gary, to help me along. And I also met my bride at CCU, Donna, two Texans that we ended up in Colorado, and somehow we were attracted to one another. Big shock. Two Texans in Colorado. We needed each other. Because some of you guys gave us a hard time back in the day. I thought, gee whiz, we're bringing so much money into this state. How can you give us a hard time? So some pretty significant things have happened to me at CCU, and they're all great blessings, so I'm really appreciative. Okay, a couple of quotes that I wanted to share, and then I'll be done and we can move on. But like I said, I figure I'm up here. And so when I get these opportunities, I pray and I just say, God, I know I'm here, so whatever you want me to do, you let me know. And so I think this is what he wants me to say. So a couple of quotes. The first is targeted to the students here, and then the second is targeted to those of you that are leading organizations today, and they're also connected. So this is a quote from a guy named Viktor Frankl. He was an Austrian psychiatrist, and he was an Auschwitz concentration camp survivor, and he wrote a book, a seminal work called Man's Search for Meaning, that he wrote coming out of his experience in Auschwitz. And here's his quote. And again, this is targeted to the students primarily. It's targeted to all of us, but students specifically, since you're about to leave the wake of school and the influence of people that have taught you here and your parents, and you're about to go out on your own. Happiness cannot be pursued. It ensues as the result of living a life of meaning and purpose. The more directly you pursue happiness, the less likely you are to achieve it. Pursuing happiness directly may result in short-term hedonistic pleasure, but does not lead to authentic, soul-satisfying happiness that only comes from living a life of meaning and purpose. And you can discover meaning and purpose in three ways. Again, this is from Frankl. Doing work that matters. So seek out work that you have a desire to pursue. Loving others unconditionally, number two, and then finding meaning in suffering. Now, this is a secular perspective, but I see great congruency when filtered through a biblical worldview. So that's the first. And then the second is from a book that I just read called Conscious Capitalism. It's written by John Mackey, the president and co-CEO at Whole Foods, and another guy named Raj Sisodia. Highly recommended. It's a killer book. And so much about what we've been talking about today is reflected, those thoughts in that book. Okay, here's the quote. So just as happiness is best experienced by not aiming for it directly, profits are best achieved by not making them the primary goal of the business. They are the outcome when companies do business with a higher sense of purpose, build their business on love and caring instead of fear and stress, and grow from adversity. These are Frankel's principles reinterpreted for business. So the paradox of profits is that, like happiness, they are best achieved by not aiming directly for them. And at Interstate, for 61 years, our higher purpose has been, as I said earlier, about glorifying God, serving others, and enriching lives, and God has clearly blessed our pursuit of those things. So thanks for the honor.